it was a difficult year for Afghanistan. It was unexpected. Initially, it was shocking for the population in large. And it was the Taliban takeover overall was a tragedy for Afghans, particularly for the educated class, for the progressive class, and for the products of those the people who were the products of those last 20 years that one of our colleagues were talking over here. A replacement of a republic, though a very fragile system and a very new republic, by a totalitarian system and a group like Taliban who have a track record of severe human rights violation in the past and who have close ties with the transitional terrorist group was not a good news for Afghanistan. It was, of course, certainly a bad one, specifically for a particular segment of society who believed in democracy and rule of law, and who were from the educated class of the society.
But I want to make a point about the immigrant experience. Here you have, I think, a quite extraordinary group of people who have managed to get out of Afghanistan. And like Elliot and many other veterans, I was involved in this and have seen so many different stories about it. And here's the point I want to make. How much courage and true grit does it take to grab your 4-year-old's hand, put your 2-year-old daughter on your back, and claw your way into an airport, get across a border, and somehow find your way to the United States? I want that person on my team. And that first generation will start out doing some fairly pedestrian things. The second generation will be starting great companies. The third generation will be running Ford Motor Company. This will be good for our country.
First and foremost, top of mind is housing. There is a housing crisis in the United States more broadly that is absolutely impacting our Afghan partners' ability to find places where they can actually live and see as their new homes. And then next, of course, is the asylum piece. It's a very complicated, arduous, expensive process. Lawyers are asking upwards of $10,000 per Afghan head of household to file an asylum application, which if you're not working, how can you afford the $10,000 to be able to pay for that asylum application? And then absolutely finding meaningful employment, being able to take care of yourself and your family members that are in the US, but also taking care of family that has been left behind in Afghanistan.
So let me just do a quick recap of where we were from the last time we rolled this out. A lot has changed in the world and in space, and a lot has still remained constant since we last hosted this report for 2021 last year. We see more countries signing on to NASA's Artemis program. Russia announced they are leaving the ISS, then they changed their mind, and then I think last week they're changing their mind again. So they're kind of still changing their opinions. The Chinese are continuing to steal US technologies and advance hypersonic vehicles. Russia is, again, acting not just recklessly in space by trolling our satellites and ASAT tests, but now also continuing that great march of recklessness on land with the invasion of Ukraine that has now, almost reaching a half-year point.
I think a lot of the people within the walls of the Pentagon would be really surprised at the sense of urgency that the private sector really has. And they're desperate for information. They're desperate for information, and also like, how can they help? There's venture capital firms, there's private equity firms, there's even public investors where you can see how they want to participate in this sector, and they just need a vector in terms of where to go, What is the priority? And again, it kind of goes back to that overall linkage of the demand signal of, okay, where is the DoD, the national security space community, really ready to leverage and pull and trust the companies and the data and the products that are being developed in this sector?